This is day 844 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored by the founder of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi project, my Shutaf, Micha Berger. Leilu Nishmas, those who left their homes one beautiful Tuesday morning on the 23rd of Elul 5771, which corresponds to September 11th, 2001, and never returned. And those who rush towards the danger so others should not die. Hashem Yinkom Damam. Shama Aliyos. Today's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is Siman Tuf Kuf Lamed Tes Sifu Gimel to Tuf Kuf Mem Aleph. Yud Gimel. Mochrei Tavin O Yerek V'chol Davar She'enu Miskayim. People who sell spices or vegetables, anything which is not can't last. V'chein Peros, so to fruit v'shamine Achila and other types of food. Which adds people who sell fragrances as well, which is obvious when it's obvious that they're for the purpose of yontif. Posts can kind of say they can open their stores freely, kedarkon, in all manner, more versa, and sell in public. They shall call it Shem Tzarech HaMoed. Everybody knows it's for the purpose of the yontif. But they're selling fruits which is not apparent for the purpose of yontif. Where people are selling clothing or objects. Some of them are for purpose of yontif, some are not. And if were it not at all for the purpose of the yontif, it would be forbidden altogether. But since there are people who do buy it for the purpose of the yontif, they're allowed to sell in private or for the purpose of yontif. Ketzah. How so? What does it mean in private? If the store was open to a corner or to a street, Poseach Kedarko. In other words, the street actually translates here, Movi translates as an alley. So it's open off the main drag, so to speak. Mishnah Berurah says that clarifies that Movi is not only an alley, it's Einam foolish. It's a cul-de-sac, a dead end. Because if it goes through from side to side, it has Rishus Harabim. I'm not sure Arukh HaShulchan agrees with that, but Arukh HaShulchan says if it's opens into a public thoroughfare, main street. Poser does I added main street. Could be any street. It's supposed to be an alley. It's not clear. Poser does achas. You can open one door, no does achas, but you have to lock the other door. I put up Yeshchanu Shtei Losses because normally stores have two doors. The Arab Shmini Atzeres, Motzi Materes the Shuk with Peros. You take out and you adorn the marketplace with fruit, but you cover the yontif in order for the honor of yontif. And even for the purpose of yontif sheni of the second day of Simchas Torah or Pesach, you're allowed to buy, meaning that the stores can sell stuff for that purpose. Bishop brings out the Risha Rabbi Kiva Eger that even do malacha gemura, such as to cook for the purpose of Yom Sheni, is also mutter on Chol Moed. I guess by me that was a dar pasha. That's not a chiddush, but okay, maybe it is a chiddush. If a little man came and the owner became a kiva yarcha, we don't say it since we know the actual calendar. You're preparing for Chol Moed to a weekday. It's not a case. The final analysis, it is yontif. That which requires private selling, that's with a storekeeper. But if you're a Baal Bas selling for the purpose of yontif, you don't have a store, and you don't do it in private. If it's not for the purpose of yontif, it's also altogether. The brand brings down brackets here, but I'm going to see if you base. I feel like even the door, the store is closed. But the door is open. Also, I don't know how it's closed and open, says the but I think we can imagine that. Let's say we have the metal curtain pulled down over part of the store and not over the door. So I'm looking at those lines. You should know the possession is by Basif Yud Base. Mashba Krai Mutter, Bistami Mashuk Asur. that which we send to you based on if it's a unique occasion, a special, a unique sale, then it's okay. If it's a generic market day, it's also customers are being writes a middleman who buys from this and sells to this. The choser and he buys from that and sells to that. It says buys from this and sells to that, buys from that and sells to this. Um, Mutter, it's okay to have a dover havik because there's a loss involved. Ad kan l'shona, end quote. And move on, cloud. Lacks understand. It's difficult to understand. In Kain Koma Lechnus Kain Shakonim Mochim. All stores work the same way. They buy and they sell. Then they buy and sell again. Kain Huchu Chanil. So they should permit all types of stores. They sell Kulam Dover Havik. For all of them should be considered Dover Havik. That's Avram's question. That for a this broker, it's only permitted in his house and not in a store. The storekeeper is also mutter in his house, and he's only also to it in his house and not in the store. Okay, but these Arukh HaShulchan says Dochel market is difficult to say. The Stam Tagar B'Shuf brokers usually work in public; they don't work in their houses. V'odimi time Dover Havei, and furthermore, if it's because Dover Havei, Hechem Matzia Dover it's where do we see that there's a loss involved? Has to be done in private. Mr. Bura says that a Tagar we can be lenient in his house, but the Chenvani can't even do it in his house. Okay. I guess say about where it's not Tzorach Moed. Anyway, let's see what he says now. Tesvav Yosef Tamali. It's more astonishing to me the following. Meaning was saying Shekol Ba'al Chanios Yoshim B'Chol Moed. Harminag is that all the shopkeepers sit in their stores on Chol Moed, K'mo Chol Shana, like the rest of the rest of the year. Kvartzavachlu Kikrucha already shouted like this shrill bird. I forget what it is in English. Place Mali Mashka Bono. Nobody pays attention to us. Arukh HaShulchan. And only very few people are meticulous about this. But leniency is there for such a thing. Feeling the airline is not being in Canada. So Arukh HaShulchan is about to be Mitzvos, which is does very often. The Malachos commercial about Malachos Sus Gamri Imi the Rice Rabban. A true labor like Lamites Malachos labor of craftsmen are also in completely. Whether we derive some Rabbanik Mashkan Masim and Tavkuf Lamed. Aval Masa Matam, a commercial activity Nasa Rak Miskosh Ainzit Medius Yom Yom. The type of commercial that was forbidden is one which is not constant day in, day out. It's not going to suffer loss, he sells another day. This requires conditions. She's which are clarified in this simon. Also, otherwise it's forbidden. We said that people sell fruit, clothing, and objects sell in private. Eino b'chenvanim. It's not talking about storekeepers. Ella b'mocher perosov shebizkosov. Somebody sells his fruit out in the field. So kelim and the garments and objects shasah, which he bought, which he made, or he bought. There's no loss to him if he sells them today or after Yontif. Once he sells this thing, which is a one-off thing, I guess not mass-produced, so then he has no more of this thing to sell. So he might as well just wait till after Yontif and sell it then. People selling spices and vegetables is similar. But somebody whose parnasa comes from his store, we met him in Spice Yom Yom V'nayika is parnasa day in, day out. There's no greater loss than that. If he locks his store, perforce he's going to curtail his expenditures for Yontif. And this we already said in the Yerushalmi that we brought in Sif Yud, the Bishvil Arbos covered Yontif in order to expand the honor of Yontif. Mutter li so they allowed to engage commercial activity. Let's say the borrower shem im yanua chanios kimat tu b'simchas Yontif. So this is clear. If you close the stores, it's going to be diminished. Simchas Yontif because of diminished income. Came out should have said the very base. Since the way into the tiny chanios absuchos stio, stores which open to a portico. Posech v'noel kedarko. You can open and close them normally. Psuchos u'sarabim, if they're open to a public thoroughfare. Posech achas v'noel achas. You can open one door and close the other door. But so perik beis hevi b'rais zu ayin yonim mochrim sam and also the price is brought pertaining to people who sell spices, herbs, no spices. But Tosefta ain't zechel kol zeh. But Tosefta doesn't mean down this spice business. It's just a story about stores generically. So it seems that it's going on all the stores. As we said, everybody makes a living from the store. It's like sustaining a loss. So that's it for the joy of Yontif. But Tagar came to Parnasosa Bekach. That's what the Ramah says, that the Tagar, since this whole Parnasa comes from this wheeling and dealing, he's allowed to do it. But we have to warn them, only done one door. Im Haim B'Shus Rabin Gomer, if they're an absolute Shus Rabin. The bracket says here, Ken Yirel, and he was lighting the most Lamed Schus Klaiso. Limud Schus. Gamal Yerab Max Shekel, Limdu Schus. Perhaps in a different way. But also, it's, when you can't be Lamed Schus, you should be Lamed Schus. But, if you're Lachem is down. So the Rabbah, you can't extrapolate from commercial activity, where we're lenient, to Malacha, true Malacha, where there aren't as many kulos. Tezain, Mitzia Shel Tircha also Shel Chapesa, a lost object that you're trying to find. You can't go to extreme toil to find it. Gonar Shetzif Dagim Aus Faso. Interesting. Example here, it's not just something you lost, but something which you comes into potential possession, such as where a river floated fish over its bank. Also, you're not allowed to gather them the kavshan in order to pickle them, and then eat them after yontif. If you can eat from them on chomay, they can be pickled in 1 or 2 days. Mutter, afshishu gam acharmoy. Then it's mutter. Some would be left after yontif as well. Then you can't ask shayara. Then we say when a caravan comes, we allowed you to buy the caravan because it's like a potential loss. The of the kulam is certainly here where everything will be lost. If you don't purchase it now, you don't acquire them now. Acquire the fish. So why is it even in the caravan where you can take advantage, because it's a unique opportunity? Yeshua can say loitan rak b'schor shezel derech mischor. Because we only allow commercial activity in the normal manner. Ubitul mischor have a pseida, and not to do commercial activity, it was cause a loss. But not to catch the fish and salt that because it's kula revach. It's all advantageous to you. There's no potential loss to suffer. And therefore, says Roshon, it's if you're actually a fishmonger, you can do this. And so have a kishar miskor like by him. It's like any other commerce, and therefore you can go and collect the fish which jumped up on the riverbank. Yudzayin Klasav Tour. The tour writes, Misha Mal Vel Chaver tonight. Somebody who loans money to his friend on condition. Nosan I love a chevetz, and the borrower gives him an object, umasnemo, and he stipulates Shim Lo Yifral Social Yom. He doesn't pay back within 8 days. This object should be acquired by the lender. Some permit this, right? Because the primary acquisition is after Yontif. That's after 8 days. Here, I don't think you mean matir. Okay, mutter kol maso matir shem yarim lasos kain. Because then any maso matir will be fine. Any commercial activity can be permitted using this kind of trick. It's not the Roshon speaking; it's the tour speaking. Sorry. The Shnei Adeos who Shulchan Aruch Siv Zayin both means around Shulchan Aruch. The Eish one of those they say the dafka chavero specifically to your friend it's a problem. I mean Yehudi b'chai gavna, but to a non-Jew in such a fashion, gam atumah they're the mutter. The Torah also says it's mutter the day lo shayach harama. By non-Jew, there's no concept of playing a trick, inappropriate ruse. Everybody agrees that if the non-Jew pays back to a Jew wine or other merchandise as in lieu of his debt, with the guy manu, you can still accept it. It's certainly like something where there's a significant potential loss. She writes, you'd certainly best be machmir like those who aser to who aser the harama, who aser this loan with the collateral. Nevertheless, you can't protest against those who are lenient and rely on the first opinion, since he doesn't have really in mind to play a trick. Um, I guess if it's a real loan, as opposed to commercial activity disguised as a loan, maybe that's what he means. Yud Ches. The Chemish is talking those yain based upon here. Somebody who's got to buy wine at the harvest time. Chol for the entire year. She also to drink. She has made based on to drink. Remembers his household to drink. Lo shu mischan, not for the purpose of commerce. Im yavor zman hamoed. If the time beyond the passes, lo yim tzolik knows zeh hayayin won't be able to find this wine or mekach bezo or mekach azol or not at the same price. Low price can be shkunata as he's acquiring now. Have a dover avait. That's something where there's a loss involved. And really knows they're allowed to buy it. It's true about other food and beverage as well. Allah says many people are machmir in this, and therefore it's appropriate to do this only in private, not in public. Moteknos chavios who talk them, you're allowed to buy barrels and fix them, uzaf them, and line them with pitch. To have a cover a mother that's lost like a loss. Actually, having lots of moed, as long as you don't intentionally leave your malach cholamoid, should be called him lo knos adayin. You couldn't acquire this before the yontif. Chen yoser miknesh yoser shtias and shebesik lo shan lo. You can also don't acquire more than uh, uh, um, um, the necessary for drinking. You shouldn't buy for the whole year right now. They say didactic, but it seems as they don't be precise about this. Skor aslan kenu davar shein matzui for doing it commercially. It's only permitted if something which is not easy to get. Achar kach, sentence. Also, elin kenu davar shein matzui achar kach le'viachbo, unless it's something which you won't be able to make as much money later on. Right now, you'll be able to make more money. Then it's also mutter not just for your own personal usage, but for commercial activity. This is truly something where you put that to sustaining loss. This is where it says that this is when you won't be able to buy it all after Yom Tov, or where it's really, really cheap. There's a lot of profit. And somebody who's lenient, even if you can find after Yom Tov, but it's going to be somewhat more expensive, you can't protest his doing transaction on Yom Tov. The brackets it says here. It seems to be what the Ramah is saying. Safe test. The difference between drinking and commercial activity is for drinking even though you can get other wine, he wants this one. It doesn't work in commercial activity. Also purchased the schera, where you're buying merchandise. Even though later on it's going to cost a little bit more than now, it'll be okay. Take it like later on at a slightly higher price. We should see a low shas there, but drinking you need it now. You don't require houses and stones, avodim, slaves, and animals, unless for the purpose of yontif, or for the purpose of the seller, is like to eat, or for the purpose of the contractor, who transports these things, the transport doesn't like to eat. Pirti says bar, but even tough kuf mem base. I'll explain later on, evidently. The Chandim B'chol Advarim B'Sharot to the most custom places. Ramban, Varosh, Shom. So about anything you want to purchase. Chain Tamua Rabbeinu Ramah. Therefore, they were astonished at the Ramah. The Sif Yud Base in Sif Yud Base. Yesh Kasa Dafka Hani Mishum Ika Pirsu Mikniyasan. All the vessels where there's a publicity in the way they're acquired. So. That's a problem. Avosharkim, but other objects, nogli because of tzina. I guess it's a custom, it's not required. No. He's saying that when the ship comes in town, it's a one-time marketplace, once a century event. So then it's okay to involve in that, be involved in public because everybody knows it's a one-time event. It's very before some. But other objects where it's not so obvious, you should buy them in private. Now, Magamisha writes in Perek Zayin Din Chol Beis. So Negakor Rabbi saying goes against all rabbis. Kosul Ken Kosav the Noagu. That's why the Ramah writes there was a Kos Klamar. Ain't that Thomas Kemza? He does not himself agree with that. Mishnah says you should not be made unless it's Tzarech HaMoed, unless you won't find them as cheap after the Yontif. Well, okay. Also, therefore, the place where there's no minhag, it's also to buy all these things on Chol HaMoed. Many of them with a cover for non-Jew, all of it is permitted. Well, time to Sef to break off Ayin Sham. Shmuel says in terms of houses and fields in Eretz Yisrael, it's possibly make because of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, but Chutzlaretz he would not be making on these type of major commercial activities, which don't have any indication that they're being done at great discount or some other great savings. By the time, Avos Leinu the was to loan money to a non-Jew at interest. Those are accustomed to borrow from him. Mutter is permissible. The potential loss is Shilva Me'achar is going to go borrow from another person. Basically, so it's not like the commercial activities. You should directly take our bay, because the people are very meticulous in this transaction. No, not meticulous. People are meticulous by commercial activity, where they're meticulous and there is a lot of difficulty, as opposed to extending loan. So to those people that don't normally borrow from him, mutter, it's okay. As long as you don't take interest for this week, because that's like you're making money on Chol Moed, which you don't necessarily need. Or take that money you get because the interest and spend it immediately. Turn around and spend it on Simchas Yontif. Yosef Yeragel, not all of it, but more than he would be normally do. Meshua writes that in a loan, they're matir, even when he has lots of money on his own, and they allow lending money to a Jew, beribis, in a way which is with heteriska, a way which is admissible, and even to give him money as an investment. Mutalikach arvus moyavo, you can become a guarantor on a loan on Chol Moed. No. Coming already for a loan which is going to be transacted after you undertake. That's just agreeing to undertake it. It's nothing. Loans of money changers. It's going to be confused by or constantly involved in loaning, chiluf, and exchanging. No good. Can't look on it. There's no ace of comment. This is a complete transit. I guess the transactions in the Mahadran. But ain't no mutter of it's only okay. It's where you're going to sustain the loss. By Mashkab Siv Tezvav, we'll see what he wrote in Siv Dov, Kokanil, Tzarech HaMoed, Mutter, and any purchase made for Yontif is okay. Tavkov Mem, Dim Binya Bestira B'Chol HaMoed. The laws of building and destruction of Chol HaMoed. Ala Binyan also Gami, building is also altogether. I feel kosher, even the slice mouth. I feel Tzarech HaMoed, even the purpose of Yontif. I live nose Kol HaMoed. Should have built it before Yontif. Feel Ein Lamakam Matur, even though it's a place to live, it's still awesome. Yesh topic. It's unclear. He's fuzzy or so, right? If his dwelling place is burned down during Yontif, and you have the large capacity to build during Chol Moed, likonis b'moed, and enter the new house of Chol Moed. In mutter is a permissible kol davar like anything where there's a substantial loss. Where you couldn't do it before Yontif. The mutar moed, and therefore you're allowed to do it on Yontif and Chol Moed. Even though there's nothing, the loss already took place. However, they could start it's for like necessary for Yontif, came to because it's that place to live. Ultimately, they say Binyan Gomor, that true building, it is very public and noisy. The Torah move, it's very much toil involved. Also, it's also even in the circumstances like a water canal. So in Tov Kavlu Zayin. The Osler. He says you can't do it. You can't rebuild your house on Chomai. Very much is boyer evidence that we'll see the Makom Sakon Mutalim knows Kedarko. We're going to see that in places where it's in danger, allowed to build in normal fashion. Masha, the Rak Sakon Yitir of Lobin Yachar. In front of this only when there's a danger, not in any other circumstances.